Hi everyone, good evening. I'm actually coming to you before my bath today. Um, yeah, because I normally, in case you didn't know, I normally come in here after I've been in my think tank for a while. So today on Facebook, they were circulating a lot of uh, repeat offender drug dealer gets 10 years, and then a little further down in the newspaper, it says uh, pedophile gets 10 years. You know, whether this was like a Photoshop type of thing, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter if it was photoshopped. The fact of the matter is that our justice system is does not really provide justice. I am, for the most part, a libertarian, and for the most part, I am for the death penalty. I think that some people obviously do not deserve to breathe the same air as I breathe, even if that air is funneled through a prison. Um, I don't I don't think that all people convicted of murder deserve the death penalty, but some people obviously deserve it. I mean, sadistic killers, any killer who is has committed a murder which involves torture or just really wanting to see somebody suffer. I mean, it's that's a monster. Um, and things aren't really fair because, see, as a libertarian, I don't have a problem with people being dope dealers. I don't have a problem with women selling their bodies, for whatever reason they choose to do it, if it's their choice. Those are high risk lifestyles. And putting somebody in jail or making them pay a fine and all that doesn't really stop that kind of behavior. Because when you think about it, a drug dealer, a hooker, they can make more money in one night than they could make in a week at McDonald's. And to a lot of people, mm, it's just not worth it. They want that easy money. So, what harm is a dope dealer really doing? He's in more danger than the people he's selling drugs to. He's in more danger than the people who are going to be around the people he sells drugs to. Um, because people know he has drugs, he has money. He's in a lot of danger. Chances are, you leave him out on the street selling drugs, he's eventually going to end up dead. You know, prison's supposed to be a place for people to reform, to think upon the mistakes they've made, and hopefully not repeat them when they get out. It's punishment. And, punishment, that's a pretty easy thing to figure out. Reform, though, if prison is supposed to be a place for a person to reform, you have to look at, okay, well, what about these people that are serving life without the possibility of parole? What reformation is there for them? The only way that they're of any use to us is if they're talking to schools about the bad decisions they've made and how not to go south like they did. Maybe they can mentor other prisoners, but that's about it. Pedophiles, how does prison reform them? When they get out, they're still pedophiles. They still have those thoughts. Uh, Same as if you're crazy, if you're in prison and they diagnose you with bipolar disorder, you still have bipolar disorder when you leave. That doesn't change. The only difference between that and the pedophile is the bipolar can be treated with medication. Being a pedophile, that's not something that can be treated with medication. Um, Now, do I think that those people should spend the rest of their life in jail? To me, I mean, I always hesitate to say murder for them. Maybe just castration. Maybe that's good enough for me. But I haven't had to deal with these people. I haven't had anybody harm my child in that way. So I cannot say how I exactly would feel, because I would probably want to put my own hands around his throat and watch the life leave through his eyes, which would label me as a sadistic killer and would get me the death penalty. But, you know, they would probably call it premeditated, because you can bet your ass that if I was going to kill somebody, I would have a plan. Because I don't go to the store without a plan for how I'm going to drive there and what route I'm going to take in the store to get the things that I need. I mean, this is something that I do. So, something as important as killing somebody who hurt my baby, I'm going to plan it. And it's going to be planned for maximum effort. However, I do like the justice that was doled out. There's a movie. I don't know how well known it is. I just know that I've watched it, and everybody that respects my choice in movies has watched it, because I've made them. Hang on a sec. So, but it's Lady Vengeance. She gets a hold of a serial killer who kills kids. She served time in jail for the murders, and she got out, and she caught this guy. And all of his victims, she gathered up their family, and every member of the family had a hand in torturing and killing this guy. Her only thing was you can't kill him unless you're the last. We got to save for these other families. And to me, that is justice. Now, of course, that guy was a killer. I don't recall if he was a pedophile, but he was a child killer. But I think that's justice. Allow the people affected to determine his fate. Plain and simple. I mean, some people would be lenient. I mean, if you knew your uncle was a child molesting, hateful son of a bitch, and then somebody killed him and said, well, he diddled my granddaughter, you would probably say, well, yeah, that's the type of guy he was. He kind of had that coming. You probably wouldn't want that person to serve life for killing him. But he's got to serve some time, because justice has to be served. Even if he was doling out justice, government doesn't like vigilantes. The law does not like a vigilante, because the thing is if you're a vigilante, you can be wrong and you kill an innocent person. So that's why they don't like vigilantes. As much as that makes people feel good, that, hey, there's somebody out killing bad guys, you can make a mistake and somebody won't be guilty of something that you think they are. But there really isn't a lot of, it's weird how they sentence things, like in the system. Being in the car, like if you're going out and robbing people, if you're with your boys and you're out robbing people, and one of your boys sees a hooker and he leaves the car with the hooker, and then he comes back and he tells, and next thing you know, you're getting arrested for killing a hooker because you were in the car with him that night. Well, that's bullshit. If you didn't go out to kill a hooker, you shouldn't be complacent in that. Now, if y'all are out robbing people and somebody pulls a gun and dude kills him, like if the person he's trying to rob pulls out a gun and he kills him, then yeah, you are somewhat responsible for that. Y'all were out doing that shit. But you can't know what somebody's going to do. You can't know that they're going to, when they're not right in front of you doing that, if they go off somewhere and do it just because y'all were hanging that night, or, You get conspiracy to distribute drugs, gets you more time than actually selling the drugs, which is stupid. I mean, if you so much as answer a dope dealer's phone, like say he's on the toilet and his phone's ringing and you're like, hey, babe, you want me to answer your phone? Yeah, answer my phone. You answer it. That's conspiracy. Even if it's just like, hey, is such and such there? And you say, yeah, hold on a second. That's actually conspiracy if they're calling to make a drug deal and you answer the phone. And you get more time for answering that phone than that, and it's like there's people serving 20 years in jail for shit like that when all they did was answer a phone, or they just happened to be with somebody when they committed a separate crime than what they were planning on committing. I mean, like I said, if it is you're jacking, y'all are out jacking people and the victim pulls a gun and one of the members of your crew shoots him, yes, y'all were out doing that shit. But if you don't know what's going on, he's out there messing around with a prostitute and decides to kill her. If that wasn't part of the plans that night, you shouldn't be held responsible just because you drove the car that got him to that point. If you didn't know that's what he was going to do. And if you answer the phone, you shouldn't have to serve more time than... And heck, they can get you for conspiracy to commit murder just because, like, if you were talking to somebody and they're like, man, I'm going to kill my wife. And you heard that conversation. And then they go out and do it. They can get you for that. And yet, there are people who are actually committing crimes, like actual crimes. They're stealing from people. They're doing shit. And they're barely getting a slap on the wrist. And then there's also, you take, I'm not going to lie. I know some folks, okay? I know some shitty white folks that have been busted, I don't know how many times with crystal meth, and they ain't in prison. And I know of some black people who were caught just having a drug one time, and they're sitting in jail for 10 years or so. And the thing is the shitty white people I know that have been caught a bunch of times, I want them in prison. I do, because they're just shit. You see all these levels of this person gets this much, and this person gets that much. And in the state of Arkansas, there is actually a case. I'm not going to say who it was, but the woman was murdered in her home. Her house had been broken into by a perpetrator. He viciously raped her. He stole from her. And she died. He got more time for burglarizing her home than for raping her. And that's bullshit. That is not justice. I mean, granted, a person feels violated when, whether you're in the house or not, when you've been burgled, you feel violated. Somebody has been in your space. I can say 100%. I'd been at like a laundromat one time and I left. Well, I had these laundries at home at the apartment complex I used to live at. And I went up there and realized somebody had gone through our clothes and stolen some of them. And I felt violated just thinking some creep-ass thief been touching my underwear and all my stuff that was in the dryer. I mean, that creeped me out. So I understand, like, there's a major sense of violation of your sanctuary, that somebody's been in it. And that's just your home. That is nothing compared to the violation of your person and not being able, to be powerless and not be able to do anything to stop what's happening from happening. And yet that crime gets so little compared to something that, I'm like, there's no way. I mean, a rape charge like that, a rape where somebody is viciously assaulted and viciously raped by somebody that they don't know, especially, somebody that they don't know, that needs to carry a sentence as high as a murder because you have killed that person. They are never going to be the same. But justice does not help those victims, really. I mean, justice is not served for a rape victim, really. When it comes down to stuff like that, where somebody's like forever altered, and they don't think about that. They'll look at they'll look at simplifying it. Okay, it's a rape. You know, um, it's a sexual assault and a physical assault. And they'll like dumb it down to where it's really no different than like a date rape or anything like that. Like it was just nothing. When it's a crime. This person is mentally disfigured, just like if they were physically disfigured. I mean, if you physically disfigured somebody, then they kind of look on that. Like if you throw acid on somebody and they're forever disfigured, that's like a murder on them, because they're never going to be able to look in the mirror without seeing what you did to them. And with rape victims, they see it. They think everybody sees it. They have trouble in all aspects of their life. You have basically murdered that person, and it needs to be given that kind of gravity in court. Dope dealers, prostitutes, those are high risk lifestyles. Those people don't need to be in prison. Not really. Their lifestyles put them in danger every day, and they know those dangers. They choose to engage in that behavior. People who purchase drugs, they mainly just hurt themselves. They don't really belong in prison, because prison's not going to stop them from going back on drugs, because when they get out, they have to go to where they're supposed to go, and chances are it's around the same group of people that they were around beforehand. So they're going to start doing drugs again, especially if their drug of choice is crystal meth. Because I don't think I've ever done this thing, but it has a 20% rehab rate, basically meaning that people who are on crystal meth only have a 20% chance of staying off of it, whereas cocaine, heroin, those have an 80% after you've gone through a rehab program. They do fall off, but as far as like long-term use goes, they're having shit luck with crystal meth. But I still think that a lot of these shitty white people I know, they belong in prison. Just maybe not for a long time, just long enough for where I don't have to worry about them. But that's my 2 cents on that. That we really got to start looking at how we're punishing people. Victims need to get justice, and it seems like criminals, the bad criminals seem to get all the justice, and the innocent people, the people who are in for some stupid conspiracy, just answered a phone, they're stuck in there. I mean, decent people seem to get stuck in there, whereas, like bad people seem to find some way out. And it's not really fair, and I don't think a lot of people get the justice that they deserve when it comes to people paying the price of their actions. So, have a good night.